Hello and welcome to Expats Everywhere. If you could, tell us your name, where you're from, and a little about yourself.
Okay. Hi, I'm Beth. I'm originally from the States, from the South in Georgia, but I recently moved to Boston to teach on campus at Harvard, and then I moved to China in August to teach as well.
How long have you been in China?
I moved there in August, so just about 6 months now.
What countries have you worked in?
Previously, I have only worked in the States, so even though I've traveled around quite a bit, I've never lived and worked abroad before.
What is it like working in China?
Being a teacher in China is very interesting. It's quite a contrast from teaching in the States, just because Chinese education is so different, and even though I work at an international Canadian-American school, there's still a lot of pressure from students' families about how to incorporate Chinese education and introduce a whole new way of learning from American education.
What kinds of jobs are available in China for English-speaking expats? So things that are outside of education. Do you know of any other jobs available?
Since my community is mainly a lot of teachers and expats who are only teachers, that's really the only connections I have is with other teachers, but I know that there is a lot of business opportunities as well. So the city that I live in is the third largest in China. It's Guangzhou. So there's a lot of factory work and business opportunities, but I don't personally know of any other.
Okay, what does a typical day look like at your job?
Well, I have to be at work at 8 o'clock, so I work from 8 to 5 every day with a pretty large break for lunch and rest. Most of my community, or most of the Chinese people that I know, take a long break in the middle of the day as a time to rest or relax, take off from work. So usually from about 12 to 2, most of the city is shut down, including my school. So we have lunch and rest time for teachers.
So let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about some of the finances of living in China as an expat. How much can you earn there as a teacher?
Well, the place that I work, you can make probably about, I would estimate, between 32 and 52,000 a year, USD. So just depending on your experience and your education that you have.
Is this for teachers or for administration as well?
I can't speak for administration. I'm not familiar with that. So just for teachers, that would be the breakdown.
So you said it was between 32 and 52?
Approximately, yeah.
All right, so let's look at a number right in the middle. Let's look at 42,000. Mm-hmm. Do you think that 42,000 USD is enough money? And what kind of lifestyle can you live on?
You can live very well. The livelihood in China is pretty cheap. Most of the time you can eat meals, have a nice dinner with plenty of food. Chinese people cook a lot and eat a lot. So you can get a pretty big meal for, I would say, about 6 USD or $6, or maybe 8 or 10 if you get a drink or something with it. But for the most part, you can get all your groceries from fresh markets and places down the street or something like that, unless you're very particular. And there are grocery deliveries that can get more international foods. So if you have dietary restrictions or something like that, those are available. But you can live pretty cheap. And they have local transportation there, so it's pretty easy to get around for hardly any costs.
So if you're making 42,000, how much can you save?
I think thus far I've saved the majority of that. It's hard. I'm thinking in RMB right now because that's what I get paid in. So it's hard to convert in the middle, in mid-thought. But maybe 80 or 90% of what I make.
Wow.
But that's, I am practicing living a minimalist lifestyle. So, and I've only been there for a short time. So I didn't go overboard like decorating my apartment and everything like that. And that's another thing. My school provides all that from my paycheck. So I don't have to worry about extra costs like apartment, like rent and utilities and things like that. All that's covered when I sign on for the job. So you can save quite a bit
Is there any reason you're living a minimalistic lifestyle?
Well, when I moved from Boston to China, I realized they have way too many things. So I just wanted to start from scratch and see what I really needed to live a comfortable life, and turns out it's not much.
Yes, so your first move was like a wake-up call.
Yes, it was.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. How much money did it cost to start up? What were those expenses like, going from Boston then over to China?
Yeah, so that was pretty difficult, especially coming from a teacher salary in America. It's not nearly as much, and of course the cost of living is much higher in Boston. So the visa process was a little bit costly. I think it was like $260 maybe for just the visa, but then you have to travel to a different city to the embassy because there wasn't one in Boston. There's just all these little problems that come up that you don't think about until you get into the process. So airfare and everything like that was maybe a couple thousand to get started. So and to get over there, I didn't really need a new wardrobe or different clothes for the weather or anything like that. So it was mainly just the visa and the airfare to get there.
Okay, great transition. You just mentioned the weather.
Yes.
What is the weather like, and how should someone pack to move there?
Okay, well, the weather is much like Georgia, so I'm actually kind of used to it. That's where I was raised. So it has a pretty good seasons, all 4 seasons. So it's very warm in the summer, and it can get pretty chilly in the winter, but no snow or anything like that, and has nice fall and spring. So I hear. And the only thing that is different from Georgia is the quality of the air. There have been a few days here and there that were really unhealthy to be outside, but maybe in January there was a couple weeks straight where it was pretty hard to breathe. Take a deep breath when you're outside, or for me, I can always tell the weather's bad when my contacts are very hard to see. So it's like a literal blur. But anyways, so, but what to pack? You don't really need much more than a regular jacket. I just have my North Face jacket for winter, and that's about it. It's quite different from Boston, but very similar to Georgia weather. Very humid.
Could you tell us what a monthly budget looks like? So you said that your accommodations are paid for, but what are some of the other expenses that pop up, and how much do you budget for those?
Okay, so like I said, travel, transportation is pretty easy around the city. They have public transportation, public bus, and then as well as subway metro. Yeah. So that'll get you pretty much anywhere you want to go, unless you're brave enough to have a motorcycle or scooter and want to dare the roads with all the other people out there. But which even then it's pretty cheap, but you have to be careful because it's actually illegal. So they will take them. So anyways, that's a side note. Other budget, just groceries, like I mentioned, you can just get from open markets, just fresh food, very fresh meat. It's alive in one stall, and the next stall it's dead. So if you like that kind of thing, it kind of freaks me out. But other budget, I have my phone bill is relatively cheap. I think it's like 20 USD a month. So that's not a lot. I also have free internet, comes with my apartment, so I don't have to worry about that either.
How much do you budget for entertainment, like going out, spending time with friends, that type of thing?
I do a lot of cooking during the week because it is a lot cheaper, but even still, like on the weekends, we'll go out to dinner and stuff or go downtown, and it'll probably be maybe trying to convert in my head again.
Say it in R&B.
Okay, so in R&B, it'd probably be 500 tops. That would be like a night of like a nice restaurant, drinks, something like that, or like going downtown somewhere, a nicer restaurant than just local places. So that would be maybe like 80 USD, maybe, but that's like a big spending night. So not on the like regular, but.
And do you budget money for traveling, either in country or internationally?
Yes,
How much do you budget for that?
I've tried to budget. I actually overestimated the amount that I would need for like a trip to the Philippines. So I went to the Philippines in October, so I set aside quite a lot. I try to like not go out to eat a lot or stuff like that, so I could have extra money to spend on vacation, but it really wasn't needed. I don't have an exact number that I set aside for travel, but it's also pretty easy, like traveling to different places around the city. Like I said, you can just take a public bus to most of the places, like beautiful parks and old historic ancient cities and things like that. So you can still spend your time exploring the city and not spend a lot of money.
Okay. So what are some things that you cannot find in Guangzhou that you recommend people should bring from their home countries, especially Americans?
Okay, especially Americans. Well, for ladies, a lot of the toiletry products are like face creams or deodorants or razors, stuff like that. That's not really a thing in China, so ladies don't really have a big interest in hygiene. Yes, I guess. So if you have a certain type of deodorant or face cream or something like that, then you might want to bring that from the States because a lot of their products have a natural whitener in it.
Let's talk about safety. Is it safe there, and do you feel safe on a personal level?
Personally, I feel very safe. There's never been a situation that I have felt in danger or nervous or anything of happening, and that's including traveling around like ancient cities and stuff, like traveling around China and in the city that I live in. It's pretty calm. The most dangerous thing if you want to get on the back of a scooter. That's pretty dangerous. Or just crossing the street. You have to be a little careful whenever there's traffic involved. But
right. How do you meet people and what do you do for fun?
Like I said, we have a pretty large community where I work of expats and teachers. So we kind of were forced into a natural friendship just because you're coworkers, you're people that you're around most, so that's naturally who you're going to be friends with. It's very easy to make friends outside of work as well. So you can do different organizations like Internations has a big community there, so that's really great to connect with other expats in the area. And they do things pretty regularly, so that's always fun to go to one of those events. Mostly for fun, we'll just go explore a new part of the city or something like that. I think just getting used to our surroundings and taking advantage of where we are is mainly how we have fun. It doesn't sound very fun, but
that's having
just
fun
knowing
on a
how.
budget.
Yes, exactly. So
nice.
Yeah.
What is healthcare like there, and would you be confident in getting a procedure done? Not a cosmetic procedure, but like,
yes, like an actual. I think I would feel fine. I personally haven't had any firsthand experiences with the healthcare system there. I know that that Western people are treated very well there, and they're taken a lot of very good care of. So I think I would feel comfortable having a procedure there, but if it came down to it, then it would be fine. Mm-hmm.
What do you think of China as a travel hub? Is it a good travel hub? Why or why not?
Yeah, I think it's a great travel hub. Like I said, you can explore a lot of China once you're there on a pretty low budget, and you get to see a lot of really cool things, really beautiful places that you might not expect. And you can go all over Southeast Asia relatively cheap and really fun places that you wouldn't get to otherwise, most likely. So I think it's a great place to be.
Well, let's wrap up. Can you tell us, what are the pros and cons of living there?
The pros and cons. I would say that the cons of living there are definitely to do with government type problems, honestly. So like they have full control over like TV, internet, things like that. So you're not allowed to get on Facebook, Instagram. All those websites are blocked. YouTube is blocked, all these things. So unless you have an illegal VPN to access these things, then you can't get to a large part of what we're used to being our everyday life. Like you can't research something on Google or something like that. So that's kind of frustrating, which you don't want to have such a dependence on social media and things like that. But just little things to have like no control over the smallest things like that is sometimes frustrating.
Is there a Chinese equivalent to each one of those things, like an Instagram, a Facebook?
Yes, they have. WeChat is an app that anybody can have to like communicate, but you can also put pictures on there and have little comments and stuff. So I would associate that with like their Instagram. So they're constantly on there putting pictures and commenting on other people and stuff like that. And they do have an alternative YouTube channel as well that they have access to. It's just obviously not the same. But, so yeah, that's definitely a con of living there. And I would say getting there, like obtaining a visa and all those types of things, the little things that go into living there, like starting a bank account and things like that. There's so many like little details that they're so peculiar about, and they just have to have everything just so. It has to be filled out in the right pen and the right, like just so, and they don't come out and tell you that before. You have to do it wrong, and then they'll tell you how to do it right. So that can get very frustrating too when you're in a whole new place and trying to just figure out how things work. But once you do all that, it's a great place to live. There's great food. The people are so friendly. They're always very kind and very respectful to you. And especially being a teacher, they find that a very honorable job to have. So they're always very kind to me and really respectful. And it's a great place to be.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for spending time with us and sharing about your experience living in China.
You're welcome. It's fun.